Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wonders. It's great to have you all part of this small but growing whiskey community, and it means a lot to have you spend some of your very valuable time with me week over week. So, thanks again, and thanks for helping the channel to grow. Now, for those of you who love bourbon but may not be from this beautiful country of ours, that is the US of A, you may not know that this coming weekend is the 4th of July weekend. It's our nation's birthday, and we celebrate the freedoms, the opportunities, and the love that we have for this great state on that day. So, again, forgive me for being sappy or perhaps jingoistic or straight up ugly Americanness this time around in this video. But this week, we get to celebrate being lucky enough to live in one of the greatest countries on earth. Because, you know what? As a child of, as a grandchild of, and as a husband of immigrants, I know firsthand that America is the land of opportunity. Not just because we have great bourbon, of course, but because we attract great people, innovators, and straight out hustlers. And that is something to be celebrated. And the best part is, you don't even have to be American to join in. But if you value life, if you see the imperative of liberty, and you seek the pursuit of happiness, then you too can be a part of what it means to be American, from sea to shining sea. All right, now, before I start getting too sentimental and start tearing up here, today I want to talk about one very important part of the 4th of July celebrations. Not only is it supposed to be about the fireworks or the high-speed flyovers or shooting stuff in the desert with your buddies, but what everyone is really thinking, what are we supposed to be drinking this weekend? Because the 4th of July is about going to barbecues, about being outside, dining outside, and having good friends and having a drink or maybe two or perhaps even more. I gotta say, drink responsibly, please. So today I want to talk about the 5 best whiskeys to be drinking this 4th of July weekend. And we'll talk about the 5 best whiskeys to bring to a 4th of July party, how much they cost, and why you should consider bringing at least one of these ones that are on this list. Now, before we get to though, if you like these videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when my newest videos come out. All right, now let's get down to business. So let's first just address the fact that what you bring to a 4th of July barbecue or a beach party or a backyard shindig is going to say a lot about who you are as a person. Of course, there are always going to be the beer guys and the margarita girls and the wives, but if you're bringing your whiskey, you want to make sure that you're bringing something that's going to let the other whiskey guys know that you know what you're talking about and show that you are a gentleman of taste and of class. And more importantly, you can evangelize the benefits of whiskeys to those guys who think that all bourbons are created equal or who couldn't even fathom the idea of why you would possibly spend $50 on a bottle of whiskey. So the first whiskey that I'm going to recommend is this one that is a relatively newcomer to the bourbon world. But I will tell you that I always get an attaboy from the liquor manager at Costco or from the guy with the sleeve tattoos at the checkout counter whenever I get this one, which is this Four Roses Small Batch Select. Like I said, Four Roses is part of the new class of whiskey, kind of a new age whiskey that has come out in these last couple of years that really focuses on trying to move away from the rigid and some would say stodgy curriculum followed by the likes of Stag and Buffalo Trace and Willet and those folks. But it focuses on creating really interesting and complex styles of bourbons instead. This one specifically is made from barrels that are hand-chosen by the Four Roses master distiller, Brent Elliott. It is a concoction of 6 of the 10 different bourbon recipes they use to make their bourbons and is aged a minimum of 6 years in his non-chill filter. It is set at a stronger proof than most of the other Four Roses lineup and will leave you and your friends, and your enemies for that matter, dazzled by the complexity of flavor and spice that weaves in and out of your mouth with each and every sip. Now, the Four Roses Barrel Select it's not that rare. It's something that is relatively available in places like Costco and Total Wine and BevMo, and it comes in and out of availability on a pretty regular basis. The price that I picked this one up at Costco was at $48.99 at the Costco in Carlsbad this last Wednesday. And you know what? It seems to be popping up in most of the other Costco's in this area, at least on the West Coast in Southern California. It is available both at Total Wine and BevMo for a bit higher cost at $59.99. So if you do get it at Costco, you'll be saving $11 over the Total Wine or BevMo price, or 18.34%. So that's all pretty good. The ABV on it is enough to get the party going, for sure, at 52%. And the tasting notes mention flavors of lots of clove, baking spice, cracked pepper, honey, and toffee, roasted nuts, dried corn, and metallic notes. Kind of like licking a playground. Now, the reviews on the Four Roses Small Batch Select come out to 88.5 points on average. And overall, I think that this one is probably a pretty great whiskey. If you don't want to spend too much money on a great whiskey that you and your friends will love and will go great after dinner or after some barbecue to cut through that meaty goodness and add some sweetness to the rest of your night. Also, it does have enough ABV to bring up your spirits even on a full belly. Now, this next one is going to be a bit sacrilegious. I'll admit that up front, so you can crucify me now. It's a bit unorthodox for a 4th of July party, but just hear me out on this one. The next one I'm going to recommend on this list is, so this would be number 4. So the Four Roses number 5, this is number 4, is the Ardbeg and Oa. I will concede that, first, it's not American. But I also point out that this one specifically is probably made for Americans. So this one, the Ardbeg and Oa, comes with a built-in barbecue smoker that can actually be used with wood chips to add some smoke to whatever you're trying to barbecue. And frankly, this has to be done for Americans. I mean, think about it. I don't imagine lots of Scottish folks needing a smoker to go with their haggis or their blood sausages or whatever it is that they are barbecuing in Scotland. Again, the Ardbeg and Oa is actually another new addition to the Ardbeg line. And it was people had thought that it might be trying to replace the Ardbeg 10, which is the flagship, but it's really not. It is new, but it's supposed to be kind of a non-age statement version that has a strong smoky and peaty flavor that Islay whiskey lovers love, but without the age statement price. Now, the reason that I'm recommending it is because, yes, it, of course, is pandering to Americans with this barbecue contraption it comes with, and is suspiciously coming out closely to the 4th of July in the summer. And actually, it looks like you can use it. It comes with this little can-looking thing where you put up the wet wood chips in it, and then you set it on the grill and close the lid, and the smoke, comes up and does its thing. But the whiskey itself is, too, sort of genetically designed to go with the meat cooked on open fire. The bitteriness, the medically flavored goodness, the peatiness will both complement and cut through that greasy hamburger, hot dogs, or maybe steaks if you're trying to put some cash into the party. Now, the cost of the Ardbeg and Oa, again, I got some at Costco where I get most of my whiskeys. If you have not noticed the other Whiskey Wandered videos of me whiskey shopping at Costco, but the cost on this one at Costco was set at $52.99. And I'm guessing because of the hardware is probably where they add the extra price to it. But also, it's available at Total Wine & More for $69.99 and also at Bevmo at $64.99. So that means if you do end up picking this one up at Costco, you'll be saving $12 over your Bevmo price, or 18.46%. The ABV on the Ardbeg and Oa is not too bad. It's at 46.6%. So you're definitely going to feel it, but not so much to be, karaokeing songs like Friends in Low Places by the end of the night. At least not from this one. The tasting notes on the Ardbeg mention a strong ash undertone, faint heat, salted caramel, medium mouthfeel, Lafroig-like cleaning solvent flavor, and I think they mean that in a good way, and a bitteriness that is great to pair with greasy foods. The average score in the Ardbeg is set at 88.6 points out of 100, and really, I think that, even though it's not American, and even though it's not bourbon, the smoky, bittery sweetness will go perfect with the main course of any 4th of July party. And then, of course, you can switch to something sweeter later, or maybe something stronger earlier in the night, whichever way you want to go. But this one's perfect to go with the actual meal. So this is my number 4 pick. Okay, so let's talk about this next one that is the number 3. I guess that's what it would be. And when doing the research for this one online, I read, I don't know if it was on the Whiskey Jug or the Whiskey Wash. I don't really recall which one. They're both great places to get reviews. But they basically said that 99% of the content on the internet is adult material. And the other 1% of those are reviews for this Eagle Rare 10. I think that's probably right. But the Eagle Rare 10 is going to be my 3rd pick for this 4th of July party because, well, actually, I guess for a couple reasons. First is that it is the top of the bottom of the Buffalo Trace line. It's well worth the money when you can find it at or near the MSRP. It is meant to be an upscale everyday drinker, and realistically, there's just something really special about opening up a bottle of Eagle Rare. It's like fortune cookies. No, they're not expensive. In fact, you get them for free at the end of your meal if you're eating Chinese food, but it's just something that makes you feel giddy about opening them up. So, I'm not going to go into this long introduction for it because most of you probably have at least one of these bottles on your bar right now. But just recently, in these last 2 weeks, it seems to be hitting the shelves all over the place on the West Coast. I found some at Costco, this one specifically at Costco. I found some at Total Wine, even at Target or Whole Foods, they had them on the shelf. So, it's around. All right, so the flavor is well balanced and is really just right for a warm evening with friends. And again, the price is easy on the pocketbook if you're not trying to break the bank, especially on a bottle that you know that you and your friends are probably going to hit the bottom of by the end of the night. Oh, also, I didn't notice that somebody on Reddit pointed out that when I put it up on maybe it was Instagram, pointed out that this new bottle is the new bottle. It's got a 10-year stamped on the front. The bottles from the last month that I got before actually didn't have that. Anyways, so I thought that was interesting too. Now, specifically for this one, I picked it up again on Wednesday at Costco for what I think is probably the lowest cost I've ever seen in the country for it at $25.49, which is unheard of. And it makes sense why there was only one of them left on the shelf when I got it. But it's also widely available at BevMo, where they had it at $32.99. And like I said, at Total Wine, you can find it for $29.99, but it is allocated. So you won't always see it on the shelf. You might have to ask them if they have any available. This also means that if you do find it at Costco, you'll be saving around $4.50 or 15.01% over the total wine price, which is still a pretty good savings. The ABV on the Eagle Rare 10 is a healthy 45%. So, it is sort of baseline for alcoholiness for whiskeys. And the tasting notes mention that it is well balanced and sufficiently complex, especially for the price. Additionally, there is woody, slight sweetness, molasses, raisin, and toast. And I guess that'd be sort of like those, I don't know, the same people who make the red box raisins. They make a toast with raisins and cinnamon in it. Oh, man, it's so good when you cook it up and when you toast it and put some just a butter on the side. So good. The average review score on this one that I could find is actually the highest on this list that I could find at 89.33 points out of 100. So it is good, and there's really no doubt about that. And for me, I recommend this one because the price, obviously, but also what you're getting for the price at $25 is basically out of this world. It ranks up there with getting a hot dog and Pepsi for $1.50 or a whole pizza for $9.99 at Costco. It's just one of those things that make you feel like you're actually getting your money's worth. And it is approachable as a whiskey because it's not too strong. And again, you won't feel any regret finishing it off with your friends. Now, the next whiskey is another one that I know I'm going to get a lot of flack over. And rightfully so. It's a whiskey that people hate to love to hate and love to try to find, which is this Blanton's Original. This whiskey has just blown up over the last couple years to the extent that finding it for a reasonable price is next to impossible. And if you do find it at a reasonable price, somebody else probably has already most assuredly bought it before you did. There are people setting up these elaborate spy networks of social media channels and what I assumed are underhanded dealings with liquor managers to get their hands on these bottles. And there is no doubt that it's sufficiently good to drink. But if there's one thing to be said about Blanton's, is that the bottle definitely means something. If you come walking into a party with a bottle of Blanton's, people will notice. You may get slight smiles from your friends' dates, who assume you must be somebody to be able to get your hands on one. And statistically, I have read it'll make you at least 2 inches taller. But really, I do think that Blanton's is a great option to bring to a party. One, because it'll show that you value the company that you keep, because even non-whiskey drinkers know Blanton's, and it is known for its legendary and sporadic flavor, as each bottle is a single barrel, which can vary wildly from one barrel to another, which adds a nice sense of unknowing to it. Also, the bottle, look at it. It'll be kept in the house. It'll probably be filled with pennies or lights or just put on a mantle somewhere to reminisce about how good of a friend you are for bringing such a great whiskey, such a rare find, to a humble 4th of July party. In fact, your name will be spoken in reverent terms within that household ever since. All right, all joking aside, the cost of these bottles are ridiculous if you ask anyone who's ever tried to find them. But if you can find it at MSRP, it's actually not that expensive. And it is very, very well worth the price, again, at MSRP, maybe even a little bit above. For example, I was able to find this one at Costco yesterday, so that's Saturday, for $46.99. So, I mean, it's less than most of the other whiskeys on this list, in comparison. At somewhere like Bevmo, you can find it for $69.99, or even at one of my local liquor stores here in LA, you can find it for $54.99. Of course, the overarching problem with it is not so much the price, if you can get it at a reasonable price, but it's the problem of trying to find it in stock, which is no easy feat, although it has been popping up a lot, recently, right before 4th of July. But if you do find it, and of course, if you can get it at Costco, you'll be saving around $23 off the Bevmo price, or that comes out to 32.86%. The ABV on this one specifically is at 46.5%, but this can change from barrel to barrel as each one is a single barrel, so there's some variation in the ABV. And that also goes for the taste. But the general taste profile on Blandons mentions things like toasted caramel, charred wood, vanilla, cinnamon spice, and stone fruit like cherry, or maybe pears, or even, I guess, red apples, which are not stone fruit, but that's another flavor that I mentioned. The reviews on such a coveted bottle really are not as good as you think they would be, considering the fervor that folks go hunting for it. And I found the average review score on it came out to 87.6 points, which is pretty good, no doubt, but it doesn't warrant people's veracity for the bottle. So I'm going to recommend this one because it's a great thing to bring to a party. It looks great. The whiskey is reasonably good, and aside from the silliness of trying to find the bottle, it is a great addition to a 4th of July party and definitely will not go unnoticed or untouched. Okay, so lastly, the whiskey that I'm going to recommend on this list of 5 best whiskeys to bring to a 4th of July party, or I guess a barbecue, or something in a backyard, this would be number 1, is the E.H.Taylor Small Batch. This is one that I have sort of just become aware of, and for whiskey lovers, it is known to be a very solid journeyman's level whiskey that will never let you down in a pinch. But I think for the general non-whiskey drinking public, like myself previously, they're pretty much ignorant of it. That being said, after trying it a few times, all I can do is find myself thinking about whether or not whichever whiskey I'm drinking is better or worse than the E.H.Taylor, and whether or not I should just stop drinking that whiskey right away and pour myself a glass of E.H.Taylor instead. I guess that's how you know it's the one, right? Now, this is another bottle that is hard to get. It comes out in relatively small batches. It's not as rough as Blanton's to get, no. But it is also another whiskey that is from the Buffalo Trace family, and as of late has been more and more sought after, and really for great reason. For the price, it is great. And I would say it is definitely a step up from the Eagle Rare. It even gives Blanton's sort of a run for its money, but the benefit is it doesn't carry all that baggage that a bottle of Blanton's does. Again, this is the E.H.Taylor. It's something that you will find at a liquor store, of course, but they are almost always really, really overpriced. But you can also find it at Total Wine as well, but it's allocated, so you got to ask for it. It's not something you would see sitting on the shelf, at least not here in Southern California. I know they do have some of these at Costco. I think I did see a Reddit post in the past from Reno that showed them on the shelf, but I have never seen them in Southern California Costco recently. This one specifically, I got it from Total Wine and More after, of course, a brief inquiry. Actually, you know what? I think the way I got it was I saw another person ask for it. I had no idea what it was, but I asked for it anyways and tried it and found out that I absolutely loved it. Now, either way, I got this one at Total Wine for $44.99. But like I said, I've seen it at other states' Costco's for as low as $34.99, which is a steal if ever I've seen one. So it does come out for less money in other places, just not here. But the Total Wine price has it the lowest I've seen in SoCal. And in this case, I guess, since I did buy it at Total Wine, in comparison to the hypothetical Costco price of $34.99, I actually did overpay for it by $10, or that comes out to 22.23%, but I'm okay with that. The ABV on it is set at a barrel proof, so it's at 50%, and the tasting notes mention things like a full mouthfeel, brown sugar, vanilla, creamy, buttery, complex corn dust flavor that is well blended and not overpowered by the high ABV. The average review scores on it gave an 86.75 points out of 100. But for me, I think I would disagree on it. I would definitely give it something in the high 80s, an 88 or an 89. But again, that's just me. So, for me, this one is what I'm going to bring. This is what I'm bringing to a 4th of July party. It's a whiskey that is delicious. It's a bit obscure. And if you have friends who are not deep into the whiskey world, you know what? They're really going to like it. It's very drinkable. And if you have friends who are in the whiskey world, they're going to know about it and they're going to love it too. So for me, this is my number one choice. All right, so that's it for today. That's it for my list of 5 whiskeys that are best for a 4th of July party. I want to say thank you to all who made it this far in the video, and I really appreciate you watching to the very end. And it helps with the algorithm, it helps with the YouTube, and ultimately it helps with the channel grow. So thank you so much. So with that, I hope that you have a happy and healthy and safe and fun 4th of July weekend, and responsible, of course. And remember what we're celebrating. There are many great things about America, but it is its soul, its foundation, and us, the people, who make it the best country on the planet. Also, remember, if you do see a whiskey you love, just don't forget to buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I'm out, and adios.